One of the big moments right now is happening is you had a federal judge actually has let one of Trump's plans go through, and that is the federal buyout. This is something that has come up, and maybe some hearts and minds have been changed. This is obviously the plan that said, hey, you can go away. You can get paid for 6 months. We don't want you here anymore. We don't need you. If you want to leave, please leave, and we'll even pay you to leave.
That's right. So the buyout plan, as you just eloquently described,
that's probably that was a direct quote.
Is that you can accept basically an early retirement or a resignation, and you're paid through September. So for some workers, if they were close to retirement, depending on paperwork, as we've already discussed,
whether
they could
stuck in that cave.
They could get paid longer if they were up for early retirement. They decide to take the resignation and move forward, but. Labor unions representing government employees stepped in. They sued in Massachusetts, and they were trying to get this blocked, saying that this was unconstitutional. But a judge originally, he was appointed by Bill Clinton, George O'Toole Jr., out of Massachusetts, a district court in Massachusetts, originally put a TRO, temporary restraining order, on this while he looked at this issue. So it kind of paused the deadline that the Trump administration had given for this buyout for a few days while he looked at it. In what is surprising maybe to a Clinton-appointed judge out of Massachusetts, he threw out the plaintiff, the union's claim here, because, Harry, he said the union didn't have standing to bring the case, but also went another step further, saying that if those that were harmed, so the employees that the union was representing, were wanting to bring the case, it wasn't like, okay, go refile. There's actually, under the Administrative Procedures Act, a law that dictates you have to go through the administrative process first before coming to federal court. So what's your read on this ruling by this judge? Victory for the Trump administration, but the ruling and the language used by this judge here.
Well, I think the judge is correct, but it's important to keep in mind that the judge was mistaken when he issued the temporary restraining order initially. Basically, we should look at the Constitution. Under the Constitution, the President of the United States is equipped with all executive branch power pursuant to Article 2. And so what we have seen is the exercise of an unconstitutional amount of power by an Article 3 judge who essentially has interfered with President Trump's legitimate power. That's number one. Number two, we should keep in mind that John Fitzgerald Kennedy, as president, made a mistake by allowing federal employees who were already protected by civil service to unionize. That makes things more cumbersome. And what are labor unions? Labor unions, in essence, are another special interest group. And I'm not saying all special interest groups are wrong, but they basically can interfere with the exercise of the levers of power, particularly if you look at the federal government, which has operated inefficiently for the last 40 to 50 years. So if you think about it, neither of you were born when the federal power became exercisable inefficiently. And it's only gotten worse, and that harms the American people who have to pay taxes so that these employees can exercise their quote-unquote powers inefficiently in a cumbersome manner.
Right.
And it's throughout the United States. More likely than not, we could cut federal employment by about 75%. And many of the jobs currently performed by federal employees could be exercised by artificial intelligence, as opposed to having people in a cave somewhere in Pennsylvania.
Well, I think that's a big question. And look, the conversation on AI has obviously raised a lot of eyebrows. But I also want to remind people we've been using some version of artificial intelligence for decades now. You're just only hearing about it now because you can have a conversation with it. Remember, most of what you've been doing on your phone, on your computer, on anything, it just wasn't branded that way as artificial intelligence. But what you have now is the computer, I guess you could say, you can have a conversation with it. You can work with it a little bit more user-friendly. This is nothing new. Technology is moving forward. And what we've seen with the fax machines, with all of the things that have happened, is though technology has moved forward, the government, the federal government, will not move forward with their plans to change. And then you run up with these situations. Look, it is hard as someone who's a creator to have that decision too, of whether you utilize AI as a tool or whether you utilize it as a replacement. There's a lot that can go wrong. But again, as you said, it can be scaled down a lot. And that's not to say every union or every collective bargaining is part of that. I think there's some of that that's absolutely needed for certain departments, for certain industries, that you need that to make sure you are protecting the employees. That's not always the case, though, when the federal government is involved.
Well, and I think your point to that we've been using some form of artificial intelligence, spell check itself in a Word document is an artificial intelligence. It's predicting what you meant to say, misspelled, and corrects it. So, I mean, we've been using that for decades.
You just weren't talking to it.
Right.
Like it, having a conversation.
I did see, and I want to get Professor Hutchison's take on this also as an economist. I saw a comment that said it's too expensive to upgrade the federal government because technology keeps advancing and then it would just continue to be all these replacement costs. Even if we were at 90s level technology within this cave, we would be saving millions and potentially billions of dollars a year.
I think we got to stop for a second. Because if those who are just joining us, and I'm sure a lot of them are, when you say this cave, that is something that came up in segment 1 or segment 2. I think we need to restate about this cave. Where currently there are employees there mining away on keyboards, making sure that federal employees get their retirement plan set up right, hundreds of feet underground, using archaic technology, and Elon Musk exposed it and said things like, literally you could do anything else and it would be more efficient than this.
Right, and I think to that point, this cave, it's an inefficient process. It's costing the taxpayers a lot of money. Technology does continue to grow and evolve, but if you're looking at the economics of it, updating technology cost is going to save money in the long run for the federal government.
Absolutely. And the federal government has been reluctant and in many cases incredibly slow in adapting to new technologies. Why? Because they recognize that new technologies save man hours.
We are so excited to announce the ACLJ's brand new app, completely redesigned to provide you with the best tools available to partner with us at the ACLJ. You can watch the daily Seculo program, sign the petitions, customize your ACLJ membership experience, donate with the click of a button, and receive up-to-the-minute critical updates that the mainstream media can't censor. Just scan the QR code on your screen or go to your phone's app store, search ACLJ, and click install. It's that simple.